Hey, you there. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Force Lines Forever. Today, I have a 3v3 ladder match here on the most amazing Neuroxis map generator. So let's go ahead and introduce our teams and our players, starting off with Team 1 in the West, ending with Team 2 in the East, also known as Blue Team versus Red Team. Starting off with Team 1, southernmost player in Stitch Blue. It is Orb going first line as a Cybran. He is a 12-29 rated player. Highest ranked player on Team 1 and in the game overall by a large margin. To his northwest, we have an Amethyst Purple Borgmo going first line as a Cybran as well. He's a 15-12 rated, and again, an Amethyst Purple. And to his northeast, we have in Royal Blue, Wart going first line as a Seraphim. He is a 1112 rated player. So for Team 1 side of the map, they have 2 Cybrans and 1 Seraphim, which means they lack UEF and Aeon technology. Starting off with Team 2's northeasternmost player in Ruby Red, it is Pepito going first line as an Aeon. He is a 1703 rated player, the highest ranked player on Team 2, most likely going second air. To his southeast in orange color orange is Glumate going first line as a UEF. He is a 1688 rated player. And to his southwest, already in the water getting his feet wet, it is Horror Person going first land, second air, and then land and Navy all day. He is a 15-17 rated, again, in Chevy Crimson. So for Team 2 side of the map, they have 1 UEF, 1 Aeon, 1 Seraphim, the OGs here for Team 2, lacking Seraphim technology. And for 6 players in this game, let's take a look at how much reclaim they have to scoop up. Currently sitting on the map is 12,000 reclaim, which means each player is roughly about 2,000 mass to scoop up. Definitely a decent amount. It's definitely kind of spread out. There are decent clumps. There's a 500 and higher clumps, lower clump, amount of clumps, that sort of things. There's nothing in the middle of the map. Definitely no man's land. There are a couple of mexes to grab on the central island, but besides that, for Team 2 side of the map, they have a Trimex over here, and I will slow down just a little bit because we're already seeing some bombers outbound from Team 1. So Trimex down here, we see a 5-star set of mexes down here, as well as another 5-star set of mexes in the north, and again, a couple of mexes in the middle. So definitely going to be expansionary efforts as quickly as possible. You already see that from Horror Person, as well as Team 1's Orb sending out some bombers to deal with that sort of expansionary effort. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and see where all of our other players are headed up to in this game. We do see, as mentioned before, Horror Person has got into the Navy. So has his teammate of Pepito in the north. And I'm kind of surprised that Glum hasn't started his own naval facility. It looks like he's going to go to the middle first. We do see Orb going for his naval facility with a nice little torp launcher to deter any sort of early subs that are already on the cards here for Horror Person in the south. Naval facility spam in the north here for Ward in the north. We did see a drop outbound from the Amethyst Purple player of Borgmo, getting a nice little land facility to try to establish a land incursion. I don't know how long that's going to last. Team 2 already knows about its existence, so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets knocked out pretty early. But again, a distraction is better than nothing in this game, especially with the central section of the map being all water. And pretty much everything on one team side of the map can be hit, bar probably, I'd say, this base and probably something up there. Maybe if you park a couple of cruisers here, you might be able to hit it, but just barely. Battleships might also have a hard time hitting it, but still, it's definitely going to be a high amount of naval pressure here from both teams to establish dominance over the central, well, dominance. In the south, again, Orb getting more facilities online, and we have some gunships outbound from him, as well as some T1 jesters coming in to raid these units and engineers down here in the south. And Team 2's Horror Person has really expanded quite quickly here. At 5.5 minutes, has claimed almost every mech. Unfortunately, he is going to lose at least a few of those. There are some interceptors that are being won. It looks like some interceptors, again, guarding that gunship. Gunship is pretty weak, only 350 hit points. They're going to be shot down relatively quickly. It doesn't do a lot of damage as well, but if it goes after engineers, that is well worth the price of admission here. Again, he's already killed off that one engineer, and that ASF interceptor already on station to intercept. Interceptors nearby try to stop the interceptors here from Team 2's Horror Person, but shots outbound from the last remaining interceptors are able to take that gunship out. So the rating gets cut in its tracks very, very quickly. And we see the central players on both teams not going for Navy. We see that Team 2's northern comms, of being Pepito and Glum, have now taken essentially control of the middle island here. There's a couple of Zui using their floating tech to get themselves to the middle of the map, but not really a lot of trying to hold the territory here for Team 1 in the middle. So Team 2, again, the downside with being this far forward, as is the case with every game, is the longer you're there, the more likely you're going to be sniped, the more likely you're going to be sniped, the more likely you're going to die. More likely you're going to die, you probably should retreat. Just kind of the list of events that usually happens. We do see that T2 air has been established by Glum, and I wouldn't be surprised to see T2 air, yep, almost done here for Borgmo. So again, those players that are not going into Navy are going into the air. It's a 3v3 game. It's about probably a 15 by 15, so a decent sized map. But again, it's really hard to devote, let's say, 2 players on one team to just air, just due to the fact there's so much Navy. We do see that in the north, while Borgmo is going for that T2 air facility, he's also been able to cut Team 2 off from their mechs in the north, and is putting a lot of pressure on Team 2 from the north, being a huge distraction here for the other naval player in the north, for Pepito. He's actually, talking about him, has traversed the entire middle section of the map and has decided to go after those Izui that have been strooning in kind of haphazardly once in a while. Nice group of them going to, again, cross the Delaware, whatever river, ocean, channel, whatever nonsense you want to call this. We do see that Team 1's Borgmo has actually started to retreat, probably to intercept the comm. We do see that Orb and Glum might have some fighting words here pretty shortly. Don't know if they'll come to blows just as of yet, but it does look like Glum is retreating for the time being. But Pepito is not going to stop. Going to continue go into the main base that is Roart. Ward doesn't want to lose this base. He does have a Team 1 PD that will try to deter Pepito. He might fall back. There's a second one being built right next to it, trying to get, again, a little bit of, not adjacency, but some cutting down of the mass cost for the wall sections to protect that second PD. It does look like that Pepito just will retreat back to at least the middle of the map. He ran out, tried to do some shots, didn't really go anywhere, and will go and hide in the water. Borgmo does have a T2 gunship online. Will not kill off Pepito, but will drive him further into the water, and it will probably get him into the yellow at a minimum. Another gunship online going to help do that right now. We do see one interceptor, a couple of them nearby to try to take out those gunships, but again, they are T2 gunships versus T1 air units. Not really going to be that useful, but again, something is better than nothing. We do see naval pressure in the south here from Horror Person, going mainly for torpedo-capable boats, that being the Sliver attack subs. We do see that Team 1's Orb has gone for T2 no, is that a Barracuda or is that a frigate? That is, I think that's a Barracuda. No, that's a Barracuda. Okay, it looked like a frigate for a second, but maybe he changed his mind on what he was building. He's going for those sub-killers. That's going to deal with those subs from Team 2 very, very quickly. And it looks like it's all subs from Team 2. No frigates, no anything else. We do see more subs in the north from Team 1, but of course we also see some frigates as well. So trying to mix in both boat-on-boat action, whether that be below the water or above it. We do see interceptors and some gunships moving to the middle of the map with a transport that has nothing on it. We're wondering where that's going to go. And Team 2 has lost control of the map, with Team 1's comms relatively sitting in the middle of the map, all 3 of them. Not the best idea to sit all of them next to one another, but they do have a decent amount of at least early air power, so that will be able to protect them for the time being. Gunships going after the T1 Aeon facility here in the northeast, owned by Pepito. Looks like that is revenge for trying to attack the main base of Rot directly with his commander. We do see that T2 Navy has been established now in the south, but I feel like with that facility already online here for Orb, he has a huge advantage and is pumping out more of those Barracudas as we speak. T3 Air has been established though, and I wouldn't be surprised to see ASFs be rapidly produced. We do see a transport with some engineers on board run right in front of a group of interceptors that are still have some fuel, and they haven't been given orders to attack just yet, and now they will. Where is that transport trying to go? Looks like it might try to go to the middle of the map. It's going to get shot down before it even gets there anyways, but even if it did get there, orb is nearby, we'll be able to shoot all those engineers down or destroy them, whatever the case may be. Very, very quickly it does get shot down. So definitely unfortunate here from Glum, but he tried to do, again, just a nice little engineer build. Try to essentially establish what Borgmo did in the north. We do see the first come-on-come action here between Pepito and Borgmo. The hit point differential would favor Pepito by 1,000 hit points, but with the attack he suffered earlier, he's already in the yellow versus Borgmo sitting still in the green. So Pepito will again continue to just hide underneath the surface of the water to be able to, again, rep up those hit points once again. Team 1 has now claimed the middle of the map and is now sending send gunships in to kill the engineers out of Glum's base. We do see some ASFs have now been built, and more of them are being built to deal with the gunships. And we also see some flak being built as well to deal with those gunships as well. So it looks like Team 2's airplay of Glum will be able to fight back the air units from Team 1, but that interceptor group does kill off that ASF. We do see that Glum is just kind of sitting here in the middle of those interceptors. Those do move. Looks like you'll be able to take out a few of them from the ground. Never a good thing to have your air units be taking out that ground units that have no business attacking air units. But again, they are interceptors. They're not ASF. They're not gunships. They're not anything like that. They are, again, I wouldn't say cannon fodder at this point, but they're not really that useful anymore. But Team 2 has now been officially knocked out of the Navy. We do see that the T2 Naval Headquarters for Horror Person has been destroyed. He is putting more facilities down here. The only issue I find with this is it's going to be very annoying for pathfinding to get out of this narrow channel. Just because, especially if you go for T3, or even some Team 2 units might have some trouble. You got to back and forward, back and forward, back. It's just such a pain. I wish you could flip your structures around, so instead of them facing, let's say, to the left, I'd say with the, obviously the unit being built here, you could face it to the right. In some cases, this would be another good example of, just against essentially the same area, but you could be better to essentially have the unit be built right here than be built over here kind of thing, so it's a little bit away from the cliff edge. But anyway, my little 2 cents of I wish you could rotate structures, which would be a little bit better for base building, especially for Navy. Land and air units, that's not really an issue, but ground for naval units specifically, it does become an issue when you tightly packed your naval facilities. We do see a couple more Zuri outbound from Rot. I almost said Riot, but Rot to deal with, again, just anything and everything they can. They've done a decent amount of job of killing off the mass for Team 2, at least the auxiliary mechs for Team 2. The mechs count / income for Team 1 and Team 2, a little bit in favor of Team 1, but it just barely, though, about hovering between 10 or so mass per second more for Team 1. Not a huge amount of mass between 3 players. That's 3 mass per person. That is not, that's not necessarily nothing, but that's pretty much nothing in terms of a difference in mass generation. We do see that broadsword gunship online going after the Salem class destroyer. There's a couple of AA guns on board those frigates. Not really that powerful, but again, something. I would not be surprised to see a cruiser be built. And speaking of which, there is one built. And there it is, another gunship outbound. Going to kill off that. I was going to say Dreadnought, but that destroyer, I'm thinking Star Wars for a second. And these 2 gunships could easily deal with the rest of these frigates here, but looks like he's saving them for another attack. Frigates down here as well, trying to stop the expansionary efforts of Horror Person. Looks like he's also either been gifted over Aeon Tech or just been handed over units from somebody on Team 2, most likely Pepito, using those pseudo-Neva units of the Blazes to take out these frigates. Of course, the Cyberns don't have hover tech in terms of T2 units. They have the Wagners that sit underneath the surface of the water. So they're very useful, but again, they don't have that hover capability, so that can be kind of an annoying thing to deal with. Granted, they're very susceptible to torpedoes because they're in the water versus hover is not, so that is the benefit between going after those hover tech units or going after those units that do sit at the bottom of the ocean or water or land, not land, but just the sea floor essentially. ASF's going to come in and wreck these gunships, hovering over the wreckage of the transport that got shot down earlier. ASFs are immediately called to deal with this, and it looks like that broadsword might not make it to sea tomorrow. But like most of these units won't make it to sea tomorrow, to be fair. And ASF's coming in to try to take out the ASF ASF forces from Team 1. There are a couple more of them here for Team 2, but it's nothing too alarming. There are some, of course, cruisers being built that will try to deter any sort of air forces from sitting in their range, so it's not really going to be a huge issue here for Team 1, but that can become an issue as Team 2 expands out their air grids as we speak. No one has died yet at 16 minutes. I do feel like Team 1 sitting in a better situation overall in terms of having essentially not full control, but 90-something% control of the Navy. We do see that 2 of the 3 comms for Team 1 are sitting in the same water section of the map. Not really the best idea. If a rogue nuke comes in and takes, lands there, that's 2 comms. I would at least put 1 comm there. If I see, oh, my teammate is going to sit here, I'll sit in the other pond just in case. Because the last thing you want to do is be, let's say orb dies for some strange reason, and then a nuke comes in and kills the other 2 comms. That's it. Game over. Team 2 win. That would be devastating. But it does happen. Not very often, but it does happen. So that's kind of the mindset I would have, is I probably don't want to sit next to one another just in case. Now, if it's the only water spot, that's different. But this map has a lot of water to hide in. So, find your own spaces. Not trying to be mean or anything, but it's just tactically wise, it'd be better to split up just in case. We do see that more and more student Navy coming in to defend the T2 naval headquarters for Horror Person. He's gotten back into the Navy game. There are a decent amount of Barracudas in the mix, but there is a Salem now built. He has his own torpedoes, and he has some torp defenses online as well, and he's dealing with those Barracudas slowly, but he is dealing with them, with engineers trying to keep the naval headquarters online. We do see a lot of the focus from the Barracudas are on these engineers building these torp launchers to deal with those Barracuda units. We do see that the T2 naval headquarters is also producing its own slivers, trying to again fight back in the torpedo realm as well. The pseudo navy here from Horror Person keeping the main naval units from Orb at bay while he deals with these Barracudas. The Barracudas will probably kill off the destroyer, but it might be enough for Team 2 to save this T2 naval headquarters. It's the only one in the game, and it is definitely worth the time and investment to keep it online. We do see some Seraphim Tech in the north coming in to go after the base for Pepito. He does have some TMD online. One cruiser isn't really a huge issue. More of them coming into play is going to be an issue. And of course, if Team 2's Horror Person does develop T3 land technology, he can produce those loyalists to redirect those missiles. And we see raiding going down in the north here. I think that's from Orb. Yeah, those are from Orb, going after the T2 and T1 mixes to again nip at Team 2's eco. As you can see, that Team 2 has skyrocketed in that eco game, sitting at 400 mass a second versus Team 1's 300. So while Team 1's a little bit more focused on military expansion in terms of unit counts, Team 2 has been focused on eco so they can pump out units later on. So it's definitely one of those, do we go for eco and cut our losses right now for land units or naval units, or do we focus more on the military prowess and then try to go for eco? It's definitely one of those hard decisions to make, especially in the moment. But as of right now, one team has decided to do one thing, one has decided to do the other. But it looks like the T2 hover technology spam from Team 2 is not really going very well with all of these cruisers that can attack land units and a couple of Salems as well. Those Barracudas did survive, and there's also some Team 1 attack subs as well from the north coming in. And the naval facilities are trying to be re-upgraded to T2, which just cannot seem to just stay online. But now we see some torp bombers moving in to probably go after the cruisers, but at this point probably just go after the Barracudas, deal with them, and then go after everything else. But again, there is the tendency to go for cruisers or go for destroyers, one or the other. Those cruisers, those destroyers do have torp defenses, so they're able to deal with some of those torpedoes from those bombers. Not all of them, but some of them. And when you have so many interceptors and AA nearby, T2 tech isn't probably going to cut it. We do see not necessarily a land invasion has started, unless you count the destroyers coming on land. It might be a land invasion, but the beaches around Team 2's Horror Person have just been overtaken by Team 1's forces. T3 is not going to be a priority here for Team 1, probably for a little bit, because they already own essentially all of the Navy, or actually all of the Navy. So we might see T3 later on, but this game does go for about 50 or so minutes, so you know, no one dying at 20 minutes is definitely a good sign of this game lasting pretty long and lasting and having a very interesting effect. I don't know who wins. You will be just as surprised as I am, but I think it's a perfect time to talk about the game overall. As stated, both teams have all of their players left. No one has died yet at 20 minutes. Let's see if they make it to 30 minutes. Probably not, but you never know. Team 2 sitting at 460 mass income. Team 1 sitting about 410, so Team 2 in the lead by about 60 to 80 mass income, but of course they've lost a decent amount of mexes again on their beachfront property, as well as the the 5-star mex position in the north. So that's a lot of mass that they are missing out. Team 1's probably in the moment of course, expanding out their upgrades as we speak. But of course, let me know down in the comments who you think is going to currently win this game. And of course, if you haven't done so already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so very much for all of the time and attention and subscriptions and likes and shares and all the YouTube good stuff that you do for the channel. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so very much. And always thank you. We do see those land units have invaded Team 2's territory. The hover spam is not enough. Even the broadswords are being forced back and actually being hit by those cruisers. Those gunships need to move or they will be destroyed. And if they land, they will most definitely be destroyed, with Horror Person actually just control Kang. So, no, not everybody will make it to 30 minutes. And is now a 3v2 in favor of the Western team of Team 1, the blue team. The team in charge of the Navy, whatever team name you want to give them. And with that, Pepito will gain control of what Horror Person had. I feel like at this point, might gift it over to Glum just to pump out more air. I feel like at this case, maybe going for early artillery or nukes or something to turn the tide. Of course, we see Team 1 bombers coming in, as well as, of course, those destroyers now making more and more progress to the main base that once belonged to Horror Person. It's looking pretty dire here for Team 2 in the south. They lost a decent amount of territory in the north. Not that it's overtaken by Team 1's forces, but they've just lost control over it. And in the north, again, Pepito just being bombarded by cruisers non-stop from Team 1's rods. Wart. I'm trying to say not Wart, like W-A-R-T, but anyway. I feel like that might be a reference to Red vs. Blue with the, not actually Red vs. Blue necessarily, but the Halo reference, the elites going, whoa, 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 whoa. That could be a reference. I don't know. I don't know how people come up with their names most of the time. Most names are very entertaining. Some of them are a little crude, but most of the time I think there's usually a reason behind the name. And in the south, that unit and structure has been gifted over to Glum, so he has a little bit more boost in eco. We can see that Team 1 is starting to not only get ahead of Team 1 and just continuing to move on just up and up and up and up. They've passed essentially the difference between Team 1 and Team 2 earlier on, and is now again making their way up to 600 mass income. And again, we see 4,000 mass is definitely reclaim related for a split second. Team 1, are you going for T3? No, you are not. Do we see T3 in the north? Yes, we do see T3 technology here for Ward in the north. He's probably going to go for, of course, those battleships. The ability to carry nukes on board is definitely a huge benefit to Seraphim Tech in the Navy. You have a very powerful unit of the Hathum battleship, as well as, of course, being able to, I think it's hold 5 nukes, which is, usually you don't hold 5 nukes on a naval unit, but, you know, more capacity is always better, because why not? There is a Galactic Colossus online for Pepito. It's going to be a while for it to walk to the other side of the map. Team 1 will probably notice it by then. I don't know how much damage it's going to do, but if it gets to the main base of the air grid for Borgmore, that could be devastating and give Team 2 a huge advantage that they desperately need, losing control of both the southern sector and the northern sector of their main landmass. And we'll see how that goes. It started to make its trip underneath the surface. Its head's still sticking out for the time being. And there it goes. Its head is fully submerged and no longer targetable by normal convention. Of course, can be still seen and targeted by torpedoes and ground fired, but most of the weapons are not going to be effective against it. Looks like it's actually going to go through the middle. It's going to take out the T2 radar system. That's going to blind Team 1 in the middle just a little bit. This is what they can see with that. A decent chunk of the map. If it went to Omni, that would be, I think, the entire map, if not most of it. So it'd be very big for Team 1 to get that. But I think their hopes of an Omni facility here are not going to last very long. And those land units, I'm trying to make the emphasis with my enunciation, the quote-unquote land units from Team 1 continue to push in and just devastate the remaining forces that once belonged to Horror in the south. We do see that T3 land has been established and is pumping out land facilities and mass fabricators to make that land unit cheaper with the adjacency bonuses. Colum does have a gun upgrade on board just in case. Good to see him have that. Would like to see him go shield just for some protection against some bombers or whatever Team 1 may throw at him. We do see, of course, the bombers outbound from Team 1 just trying to poke and prod at the Colossus' hit points. But again, the 99,999 hit points on board the Galactic Colossus, a couple of Team 1 bombers, isn't that much the threat. But we do see that all, if not, most of those naval units have actually shifted south from Rot to intercept the Colossus. Of course, the Colossus will take out a couple of those naval units. Not a lot of them, but it looks like it took out a destroyer, or maybe even a couple of them. So a couple of units destroyed is better than nothing. ASF fight does occur on Team 1's side of the map. Even though that Team 2 will gain air control, or maybe even, I wouldn't say dominance, I'd say control, because they have a lot of AA to fly through. At least the corpses, or the reclaim from that airfight, does reside on Team 1's side of the map. So it's a little bit of a consolation prize. It's not a good consolation prize, but it's better than nothing. And that Colossus is now being peppered by torpedoes, dropping below 85,000 hit points. And now its head has fully emerged from the water, and those conventional weapons can now target it very, very effectively without having to ground fire. Gunships are moving in. We're trying to slow this Galactic Colossus. And is it going for the air grid? Yes, it is. And that might be devastating for Team 1 if they allow this to get closer. It has dropped below 50% of its original hit point count, and more air units are being thrown at this. Of course, we see a lot of artillery here from the naval side of things. Will start to get out of range. Let's grab these guys. Yeah, they are now out of range. The cruisers can still hit them, just barely. Of course, the cruisers are kind of hard to hit moving targets. The Salems can still hit them for a little bit longer. That Colossus has dropped into the red, sub 21,000 hit points, actually 20,000 hit points. So if Team 1 can mount a decent amount of PD pressure, it might be enough to hold that Colossus at bay. But the Colossus, is a little bit of a third of the way there for a veterancy. And a T3 Mechs gives him almost enough to get to 1 star. Once he gets to 1 star, he should be perfectly fine, especially with there's more and more T3 Mechs in his way of that air grid. So this could be very devastating. Second Colossus is out. Looks like it's going to do the exact same thing, or at least move to do the exact same thing. And Team 2 keeps the pressure with the air, essentially airlocking Team 1. We do see that Galactic Colossus has gotten to 1 star veterancy. We'll probably get here to 2. Is targeting the PD first. Probably should take out the pigeons so that way it can get some nice AoE explosions on board. But it's going to rip apart most of those defenses first. Is now at 2 star veterancy, back in the yellow. And this is game-changing for Team 2. They needed a win in some regard. A lot of that naval pressure has been called back to, again, assess the situation once again. The Colossus is actually trying to get reclaimed by the engineers. We'll stop on a couple of them. And that air grid does get destroyed. Galactic Colossus will now move northward. Looks like it's just trying to get out of range of those engineers, turn around, and then destroy the rest of them is probably what it's doing. And needs to target those pigeons. How is the Ego for Borgmore feeling? He's still at positive energy income, so that's good. If one of those pigeons goes down, that is not a good sign for him there. And a couple of T3 Mechs will get taken out once again. Has already killed off 44,000 mass. Drops into the red once again. And is not firing for some reason. I don't know why it's not firing. There it goes. Now it's firing. One more T3 Mechs exists for Borgmo over here. And his eco income will drop to 82 per second. He still has a couple of Mechs around the map, but not that many. And he's essentially knocked out of the game for now. No air grid means no ability to fight Team 2's air. We do see another facility going to be upgraded to T3 air outbound from Orb. So he's shifting more from naval tech to air tech. He does have T3 Navy online, and he has produced a monkey and has produced a second one already, or almost already. So that is huge for Team 2 for Team 1 trying to fight back Team 2 in that experimental game. But the devastation is done for the air grid. All Team 2 has to do is keep the pressure on, build more and more, and they should be fine for the time being. But you can see just the withdrawal of Team 1's forces, almost all of them, besides the land units of those destroyers. Looks like those ASF might be trying to escape, but there's a lot of AA around them, a lot of interceptors as well. Another group coming in to intercept as well. And that is, I think, the last T3 mechs. No, there's one up here for Borgmo. But he is down to now 28 mass income per second. Not really a lot of mass to play with. Team 1 still in the lead for mass income, though, at 650 versus 575. We do see a donut is starting to be established here by Pepito. His team has air dominance, so he's probably thinking, why not? Galactic Colossus in the north being peppered once again. The second one, its brother. I don't think it's going to make it, though. It's dropped a lot of hit points, a lot quicker than the first one did. And it's already in the red. It hasn't even left the water yet. Once the artillery finishes it off, that's going to be a nice gift for Team 1 to scoop up. Most likely will be either shifted or gifted over to maybe Borgmo to finish his reconstruction efforts, or just kept in the coffers of one of those two players, whether it be in the north, in the south. It does look like that orb has been targeted. Possibly. It looks like it might be some ground firing going on. This will be very interesting. Team 1, I mean, they know where it is. It knows where they are. It looks like it's going to try to pop out of the water. We see Orb's commander actually moves to try to shoot him, but we do see that the laser from the monkey is just barely out of the water, and it looks like that the Colossus is trying to stomp on Orb. Very interesting here. Don't see that every day. Orb pops out of the water, briefly misses the stomp. Monkey trying to hit back at that Colossus. Colossus sitting at 110 hit point a second regen, so it's a lot of hit points. Again, 140,000 hit points is a lot to regen anyways. And I don't know, maybe he's just trying to psych Orb and the monkey out, which is actually just being controlled by Orb. I don't really know what's going on here. It looks like they're just dancing. Unfortunately, Galactic Colossus does not have the ability to fight in the water. The Monkey Lord does have some sort of firepower. Not a lot, but something. And the laser will not activate when it's underneath the surface of that water. So essentially that Colossus is just there. It just exists. And I think it might actually be regenerating at roughly the same rate that it's taking damage, or barely not enough. So it's going to take a while for that one monkey to take out that one Colossus. That second one that was built looks like it's going to shift eastward, and more monkeys are being built as we speak. And looks like he's canceled efforts for now because he's built another one here. Wow, that's a lot of monkeys for Orb. I feel like he should have just built one monkey and then a couple, crab or two. Crabs are very effective in the Navy side of things. Tons of hit points, very annoying to kill. Long range. You could probably actually sit one here and fire probably to the other side of that water. It's just devastating amounts of range, but lots of T2 Riptides to spam. Hovertech outbound here from Glum. Unfortunately, that monkey is nearby, and that is not going to last very long. We also see that Hathum T3 battleship online, peppering those land units. And I will call these land units because technically they are built from a land factory, but they are very useful on the water side of things. And that's a lot of dead units, or soon to be dead units, from Team 2. We do see a massive expansion in that land game, and still pumping out Riptides. I feel like Percy's might even be a better bet at this point, just because they have so many hit points, and they could have probably blitzed down that Monkey Lord very, very quickly if it was the same numbers of units. We do see land engagements now in the south there, outbound from Ord. We try to just, again, annoy Team 2 as much as possible. 33 minutes on the clock. I don't see any sort of efforts to go for game enders or artillery or any sort of things to end said game. We did see a donut that was being built at some point. There it is up here. It has been built. And it has been pinged most likely by somebody on Team 1 most likely. That is not Team 1. There is Team 1. Yep, they can see it. There's a radar signature online. It's moving very slowly. Now the battleship has been built. And laser has been activated. Again, Team 2 has air dominance at a minimum for now. But Team 1 is spamming out torpedo bombers to deal with that Colossus. Colossus has had enough of it and is trying to just make it out of the water. And looks like he's just going to die. Probably should just control CAD at that point, not give the veterancy to that Monkey Lord. But, you know, that's the thing. It does look like there were some torp bombers coming in to take out Orb's commander. It looks like they're actually moving north where they might be trying to go after Borgmo. But we do see that Rot is able to be seen as well. Well, they see that's a ground unit, or some sort of unit underneath the surface. They assume that's what he is. You do see that Borgmo is going to go back in the water. And yeah, those torpedoes are outbound for that comm of Rot. And that is not going to feel good. He has no way to escape. We have, of course, the donut nearby. The donut now chasing down the comm, it looks like. And it looks like that comm is going to be trying to pick up by a transport. Torpedoes are away. Is that enough to kill him? No, it's not. Drops him into the yellow at a minimum. And he's in the red, actually. One more successful run, and that's a kill here for Team 2. There might even be a double kill here pretty shortly, with ASF sitting over the top of this donut as well to protect it. There goes the Calm of Rot to... Oh, no, he survives. 400 hit points remain. Looks like he used the environment to his great effect, but it only delays the inevitable of his death. Kaboom. There he goes. Team 1 loses the first player of the game at 34 minutes. And they might lose the second one here pretty shortly, with Borgmo not being attacked by the donut. The donut can drop depth charges, and it's not doing that for some reason. Looks like it's just going to sit there and hover over Borgmo. We do see air grid trying to be reestablished once again here by him. It looks like this is no efforts to do that. There are some T3AA installations nearby. Borgmo still has... Okay, there we see those bombs not being dropped, but it looks like they hit the ground before they can activate. It looks like the donut's like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to deal with it. It's going to target the air grid once again. The naval grid here for Team 1 is... Or naval grid. The naval unit fleet for Team 1 is... there's a lot of units. That's probably the way Team 1's going to win this, or they're going to win it with 4 monkeys charging the front line. That also works. But that donut has not really done a whole lot and gets killed off anyways. Kills off the original T3 mechs that he had, that Borgmo had, but didn't really do a lot, unfortunately, here for Team 2. And those monkeys have arrived. Who knew that monkeys loved water? Apparently they did. Because why not? And sticking their heads above the surface so that they can fire the lasers or whatever else that they can fire. Probably should have gone for Percy's at this point. I made that comment earlier. I mean, the Riptides are chewing through the hit points. It's taken a while, but they're chewing through the hit points. But now there's 4 monkey lasers online, and that's a lot of damage per second. Now I don't know what to do, says Pepito. Go for, I don't know, maybe artillery would be a good idea. Hathum near the beachhead. You could take that out with a Colossus. That'd be really annoying. And that monkey will survive. 1-star veterancy on board. We see Team 1 bombers over the top as well, trying to just take out all of those experimentals moving in. And again, no efforts to end the game as of yet here from Team 2. Team 1, have you decided to try to end the game? Air grid, power, P-gens to power air grid, and nothing as of yet. Looks like a little bit of recovery. I feel like the donut could have killed off all of this mass up here. I mean, I know they got a kill on Team 1, so that's something, but I feel like all that mass up there, that entire base could have been destroyed, then gone after this base. That donut would have gotten a lot of veterancy from it, maybe survived a little bit longer. I don't know. Colossus actually moving southward. Those monkeys retreating for the time being. Lots of reclaim on Team 2's doorstep. Lot being about 20,000. Total reclaim on the field, 160,000, with a lot of it on Team 1's side of the map. We see just the spam of Medusa to the east, and they're probably going to go northward here pretty shortly. I mean, Team 2, they have a decent amount of mass. They're sitting at 1,000 mass a second between 2 players. Glum sitting at 700 himself. I feel like at this point, go for laser spam. Go for artillery spam. Go for well, maybe not Maver. I feel like that's a little bit too heavy considering there's so many naval units. You need something really quick. Go for Duke spam. Something. But it looks like he's just building up those Riptides. They're a good unit, but when you have your teammate's base that's being bombarded by missiles and artillery, there's only so much you can do. Oh, and speaking of which, I was going to look at the range on this. So, yeah, it's essentially, if they parked it right here, they'd be able to hit, I think, the T3 land headquarters, but that would be about it. Everything else behind it is essentially not going to be able to be targeted by the naval units, unless you're talking about, of course, the Plan Bs or whatever strategic launch. I mean, I guess the Huthums can technically attack them, but that's the nuke variety, not the everything else. The base for Pepito is essentially destroyed. The donut is halfway completed. I don't know if it's going to finish at this point, or it finishes Nano now starting T2, wants to survive any sort of bombing raids or gunship raids. And again, Team 1 has control of the Navy. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. You'd have to build an Awasa bomber or just a lot of everything to deal with that. Team 1 still hasn't decided how to end the game so far. Don't see artillery being built. Don't see game renders being built. Don't see any of that. Just air grids and naval units, and that's really about it. And I feel like at this point I'm going to speed it up just a little bit because there's really nothing super exciting going on. And if nothing exciting is going on for me, I'm assuming it's even worse for everybody else. It looks like some of the mass has actually been donated to Pepito. Wait. Yeah, that number doesn't make sense. He's... oh, because he's low on power. Oh, that's why. I'm like, why is it not really working? Oh, because he's low on power. But 5 monkeys versus 1 Colossus. That's only going to go one way. ASF go, I am out of there. See you bye. More and more Riptides coming in to assist. Lots of cruisers and destroyers on the beachfront property over there trying to destroy all of those Riptides. There's no Percy being built up. I feel like, okay, now they're building up Percys, but these could have all been Percys, would have probably killed off all of those Monkeloids and most of the naval units really, really quickly here. Donut does continue to exist, but it's very, very slow. It does look like Pepito does have his power situation, so his eco income is a little bit more balanced. It's just Team 2 is hemmed in. They can't really move anywhere. They have air control, but you can see that naval control is just so tight for Team 1 that it doesn't really matter. You know, if you can't make it to the other side of the map, what's the point in having air control? Donut is constructed. It's severely damaged already, but it's online. There are some cruisers in the bay, though. That's definitely something to be worried about. You can see the cruisers immediately starting to fire on the ASF, and now they're going to go after that Tsar. 40 minutes on the clock. Sensor package has been started by Pepito. Looks like he's trying to assist in that regard. And the Donut actually just calls it off anyways because he sees the threat from those cruisers. His shield's almost down, and yeah, needs to get that thing out of dodge. Just don't see anything going on for Team 2 side of the map. I like how there's just one engineer reclaiming 15,000 mass, because why not? I mean, it doesn't have to be fast. It can just be a nice little source of income. What is it? I wish it would tell you how much mass you got a second from just reclaiming that. That would be kind of nice. ASF fight over the top of Team 1's naval fleet, and even if Team 2 wins this, the point of this fight is not to win the air fight. The point is to kill as many ASF for Team 2 as they can. And look at this. So even if they try to retreat, most of them, if not all of them, won't even make it back to base. This is devastating. It is a net 0. Actually, it's a net positive for Team 1, net negative for Team 2. Bunch of Team 1 bombers going after all of the land units down south. A couple of E-storages were taken out by the artillery. It doesn't kill off the pigeons, but it's also got to hurt. More Percys being added to the mixer. Still building Riptides, but I like to see the inclusion of those Percys. Very, very powerful unit. Again, sitting on the beachhead, taking out cruisers in a couple of shots is definitely worth the mass investment for those units. And ASFs, just a couple of them, not a lot of them, just some of them being diverted to go after all these Team 1 or T2 bombers. And Percy's actually going to force back the Navy here for Team 1 ever so slightly. You can see the Hathum is already in the yellow, and Percy's will continue to walk forward. The only issue here that those units don't have torpedoes, which means Team 1 has the advantage. Once those units go underneath the surface of the water, their main cannons can't be activated, and those Monkeloids can just fire all day long. Team 2 can't do anything about it. Speed this up once again. How is Team 1 doing for ending the game? Still nothing yet on that front. If Team 2 is building a nuke somewhere, and I didn't even notice, that's definitely going to be... okay, well, a satellite. Okay, that's something. So Team 2 now thinking about how to end the game. Satellite spam might do it, but again, it's going to take a while to really build up enough. And Team 1 is in a really good position to try to rush that satellite, so there'd have to be a lot of them very, very quickly to really make that impactful. And they'd have to have adequate air and shield defenses with Team 1. Again, they're going for torp bombers right now to deter any sort of naval incursion from the pseudo-navy from Team 2, but there's none. There's a little bit of AA pressure, but not a lot. Teleporter has been started by Pepito. Where is he going, I wonder? He has sensor package, T3, and sensor. He might go for a teleport missile launcher play, but the other two comms on Team 1 are in the water. And Orb is definitely below any sort of AoE for missiles. And the same can be said for Borgmo over here, even actually more so. I don't know what he's going to go after on Team 1's side of the map. He could go after T3 Mechs, but at some point that's going to be countered very, very quickly. So it's, I don't know, it's going to be one of those that has to really count. It can make a huge impact, but it's not really going to make a difference. We do see that Team 1 now sitting at 1.2k income. Team 2 at 500. Is that with that's with some power issues because he's building that teleporter, so he needs all the power, so his mass income's severely drained. I just don't know what Team 2 is going to do about this. They were sitting in a good position once they took the air, but then they didn't really do anything with it. They built a donut, and then they sent the donut in, and then the donut died. So they got a kill, but I don't know if it was really worth it at this point. You see that the laser is now making its way across the map, not going after any of these units, but just trying to make it to the mass extractors at a minimum to at least curtail the income for Team 1. That's better than nothing. We see a eye has been built, so Team 2 is going to gather some intel on where Team 1's comms are, I would assume. And so they'll get some information here. Torpedo him, and that comm is moving, and they don't know the comm is here. They might have known at some point, but they don't know now. And spy planes moving in here from Team 1 to get a nice, good view on what's going on. Monkey Lords are inbound, and they're going after those producing facilities with the gunship assistance as well. There's a decent amount of AA down here. Not a lot, but there are some ASFs as well been building up around the donut. And lasers are moving in. You target the mass fabricators and everything goes. You're still not targeting it. Oh, there goes half of that grid. Pick up the other mass fab, and there's the other half of that grid. There it goes. That whole grid is destroyed. ASFs move in, kill off most of the... Actually, no, they ignore all the ASFs going after the donut. Seeing that's the bigger threat. And the donut will die, and it probably will crash land on that first monkey. Monkey will die anyways due to the Perseus. Some Perseus do die, but the monkey doesn't die from the crash damage, dies from the Perseus. But 3 monkeys remain. One of them damaged, the other 2 essentially perfectly fine. More and more Perseus being diverted for this attack. A lot of them being produced now. And only 1 laser. Second one going to be built here now. Team 1, they have the mass income. They could build their own game window or artillery or whatever the case may be. Or they could just build a nuke. That also works. Team 2 knows about the nuke. Looks like that's what's being targeted. And the shield is about to fall. Ooh, that could be devastating to lose the nuke before it's even built or even loaded. And it doesn't look like a shield is going to be built around it fast enough before the defense satellite, air quotes, takes it out. That's going to hurt. And in the east, the monkeys still pressing forward. Lots of Perseus, though, brought forth. So those monkeys are going to have a hard time chewing through all those Perseus hit points and all of the damage that the Perseus do. And that monkey is in the red, and that monkey is now dead. So 4 monkeys have died. 1 of them over here, 3 of them down here. To be fair, the donut died, and landing ASF nearby, not the best idea, but it just kind of happens. Second satellite going to be built. Third satellite going to be built. Spy planes over top, see what's going on. If the monkey could do some damage to the P-Gen operations, that would be really great here for Team 1. Oh, it's not going to go well. Oh, there it goes. Everything goes up in flames. That is a lot of energy that is just no longer being produced. Oh, the monkey, 6,000 hit points. Will its laser get in range of the T3 P-Gen? Nope. It'll get in range of the E-storages, then kill off the P-Gens with the volatile explosions. And that is going to hurt. We do see some strat bombers inbound. It looks like they were going after the satellite. The satellite was destroyed. Second one is going to be built. And it looks like the second satellite is the target. That satellite does get denied. That's why they needed a little bit of shield coverage first and then build the second one. Gunships moving in here, targeting Glum's commander, I would assume. Or they're I don't know what they're targeting. Okay, there we go. Now they're going after Glum's commander. No, going after... What are they going after? Oh, going after the E-storages. Take out the shield. Okay, then they're going to go after everything. SMD is probably going to be targeted. There's kind of haphazardly being... There's no really target priorities. Looks like they're just kind of targeting on the fly. Going to go after the other E-storages. That's devastating. That is one of the reasons why it is so deadly to put E-storages around your P-Gens, is because they're very weak. And one explosion leads to a cascade, could lead to an entire crippling of your shield grid, or even air grid, shield grid, or energy producing grid. And the whalers have devastated this side of the map. Shields are down. P-Gens are devastated. The eco here for Team 2, both Glum and Pepito are negative. We do see that Pepito is trying to teleport right now. There he goes. He went to the other side of the map. T1 torp launchers being built immediately. There is a nice little sonar immediately built. They can get a nice view. Need to build a couple of those first, and then need to really just spam them out. The question is, will Team 1 notice in time? That I don't know. We do see those gunships are shoot away, but most of the land facilities here for Team 1's Glum have been destroyed. He's sending his Percy's out, and it looks like Boardbo does notice, and it's not enough. He is going to make his way out of the water. Harms are being built to get rid of Pepito's commander, and again, he's not going to make it out of there. We see torp bombers moving in as well here for Team 1's orb. And Percy's moving in, trying to take out all the units, but again, they can just retreat and fire as they move. Percy's can't really do that once they hit the water, or at least below the surface of the water. They kind of just look at their opponents and just stare at them. I feel like Team 2 had a way to win this game. There it goes. Pepito killed off by gunships and torp bombers by orb, and is now a 2v1 in favor of Team 1. Why are you running? Oh, I wonder why he was running. He was going to be torpedoed to death. And those Percy's still moving in. Still hasn't been chewed through yet in terms of hit points. There's a lot of hit points per Percy. 7,200 in fact, with a lot of damage. There is a crab sitting roughly where I thought a crab should sit. And its range on that crab is actually not as far as I would thought. But to be fair, if he was standing here, which he's moving to do so, he would almost hit everything, you know, on that beachhead over there. Percy's one by one moving in. Going to be shot for 3,000 damage per dual burst. They probably will not kill off that crab, but they'll make a play for it. And 50 minutes on the clock. Orb, are your comm at this? What? Oh, is your comm on the map? I stealthed it. That is true. He did stealth it. I can't find him. Ah ha 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 ha. There's Pepito. Yeah, this game is pretty much over. I think I'm going to speed it up to probably 3 or even 4. Crab did take a decent amount of damage, though, but it's just not enough. 2 more questions left. Looks like there's some questions about where Orb's commander is. Transport laden with a commander inbound. Looks like he might, I was going to say, might just be killed off. Well, looks like he's going to go. There he goes out in the blaze of glory. And he knew that the game was won by Team 1. He just wanted to go out in style. But that is the game, folks. Team 1 wins the game at 51 minutes. An MVP, I think, just has to go to Orb. The fact that, again, he was able to take control of the Navy with the assistance of Root. Once with his death, he took control of all the Navy and just kept the pressure on Team 2. That's essentially the starting of the collapse for Team 2, was the Navy being taken by Team 1. They had a chance to come back with air once they took out their opponent's air player of Borkmo. I feel like the donut coming in could have done a lot more damage up here, killed off a lot of mass. Even the T3 naval headquarters probably could have gone down. That would have slowed Team 1 quite significantly, at least after the death of Rot, essentially making everything he had null and void. But I don't know. I feel like there were definitely moments for Team 2 to come back in this game, but they just didn't seize the moment, or at least seize it enough. But let me know down in the comments if you felt the same way or not, whether or not you like my choice for MVP or not. Please, if you haven't done so already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see each and every single one of you in the next one.